Hey, Teddy K here for Best Buy Plugin, and in this video review we take a look at the D-Link Covr AC3900. This is a Wi-Fi mesh system that functions a little bit differently than some of the others. The D-Link Covr is a lot like other Wi-Fi mesh systems. You have one main unit that then talks to other satellite units. They create a mesh together that ultimately leads to better internet connections throughout a larger area. The difference, though, is that D-Link is done in a more traditional way because, well, first of all, if you just look at the Covr system, I mean, just the main unit looks like a typical router, and the Covr satellite unit looks like a typical range extender. And that's actually because that's what they are. But what D-Link did in the back end was make them into a mesh. So even though you have something that looks traditional, they actually work much like other Wi-Fi mesh systems do. The setup is really no different than anything else. You use an app, iOS or Android, and then you just set it up and you're pretty much good to go. I was up and running in 15 minutes. It was not really hard. One thing I should mention, normally you cannot separate the SSIDs. So the 2.4 gigahertz network and the 5 gigahertz network are in one SSID. However, one workaround I did use was to create a guest network and then only on the 2.4 band, and then allow access to basically not lock down access in any way. So I could still access, a media server that I might have had set up through the USB port, for example. So in effect, it actually worked like a typical 2.4 gig network. The problem was that I could not actually shut off the 2.4 gig network on the main SSID. So in a sense, I kind of had two running at the same time, but it was fine. In order to do more, as far as the advanced settings go, you need to go online. So you need to go on a web browser. There's actually no way to do it on the mobile app, which I find kind of weird. I mean, if you want to make this system easier, especially for parental controls, why not just throw them into the mobile app? I don't understand why a lot of those features would be missing. I can understand maybe you don't want all the advanced features in there because maybe it might seem a little bit messy, but it's one of those things that I couldn't quite get as to why they would do it only through a browser, but not through an app. I mean, if I wanted to, disconnect access to a certain device that maybe a child is using for some reason, maybe for some disciplinary reason, why would I have to run to a computer or a laptop in order to do that? So that was one thing I didn't like about the way the system was set up, and hopefully D-Link can fix that by just adding these features in the mobile app. It is possible, so it's not something that is dead set on the device itself. When it comes to performance, I do want to point out that I found the Covr, being a main unit with one satellite unit, to be better in closer quarters. So the closer I was to either unit, the better the throughput was. Now I know that's standard for any router, but in this particular case, it was a little more pronounced than some of the other systems that I've tested. So I found, even if you're in a condo and it's not relatively big, but you want to spread out the signal in such a way where you don't really have to worry about connections, whether it's on the balcony or any corner of the condo you're in, this system actually works really, really well for that. I don't think that it's really out of the ordinary to use something like this, despite the fact that it's supposed to cover up to 6,000 square feet. That even if you're living in a place that's under 1,000 square feet, it's not actually out of, I don't think you are doing anything wrong in buying this, because you are spreading out the connection and ideally the throughput within that smaller space, which is what you want. The problem is, I think, is that if you're looking at a wider space, so even if you're looking at a home that's 3,000 square feet, I do kind of wonder about the fringes of that area, because the throughput tends to die down a little bit faster in this case, more so than some of the other competing units that I've tried. In that sense, I would say be realistic about what you could and can't do. Meaning that if you are in a really big space, if you're in like a 4,000, 5,000 square foot, buy another satellite unit and make it a 3-pack. Because otherwise, I don't know that you're going to like the throughput you get in like some man cave that you have that's further away from where the router is. All in all, it's a nice system. The Covr's nice. It does the job that it's supposed to do. I think there is room for better efficiency, especially in the way that throughput comes out, so that your transfer speeds are faster. I do like that there are plenty of Ethernet ports, so if you're plugging in smart home products that have hubs that need to communicate, you have plenty of space. There's 2 even on the satellite unit, of course. That's really good. So I like some of the features that are there. I like some of the ideas that are in there. But I think that there's some room for improvement here, and thankfully some of that improvement can just be done over the air. It can just be done with software updates or firmware updates. So hopefully D-Link does that. And that's my review of the D-Link Covr Wi-Fi mesh system. For Best Buy Plugin, I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.